Welcome back to Not Again. We are fully aware of the irony that our podcast is titled Not Again, and yet we keep coming back to you. Just roll with it with us. I'm your host, Rebecca.
And I'm your other host, Alan.
And we are doing Corey Carson, Season 1, Episode 5, Oil Spill. Are you excited for this one?
Yes.
This one's going to get... spoiler alert for Corey Carson. I remember episode 2. I was talking to you about how we had to do spoiler alerts from now on, and then I immediately forgot.
Stopped. Yes, okay.
So I tried to put them in the episode descriptions, but yeah. So spoiler alert for Corey Carson. Corey Carson and Corey Carson episode 5, Oil Spill specifically. Also, just content warning, we're going to talk about bodily functions a little bit, but still keeping it as PG as possible in honor of the content that we discuss. And if you would like to know more about what this show is about, I would recommend going back to episode 1 and listening to the introduction, which I'm hoping you will find is slightly lower quality. I honestly do, because we're kind of learning this as we go along. We are coming at you from our basement, which is in no way soundproofed. And I'm just kind of learning as I go. And so I want to know that I'm improving every time.
Yeah, I hope we're doing a better job.
So the episode starts, as any episode would, with Mrs. Carson preparing for a date night with Mr. Carson. Chrissy is in the room with her on the bed, I think. That's not in my notes. I don't note everything. I think she's
that sounds about right. She's just kind of playing in her parents' room.
Because, I think she's jumping up and down.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is important. Let's move on. Corey rushes in to say that baby Unicar, let me emphasize that. Baby Unicar. Yeah. So what you need to do is picture a car with a unicorn horn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very rainbowy.
A rainbowy one, yes. Is almost starting. He is wearing a rainbow unicorn horn on his forehead in anticipation.
Right. This is a TV show in the TV show, by the way.
Yes.
Just in case that wasn't clear.
Oh, wow. I wrote these notes so long ago that I forgot what I wrote, but I explained what Baby Unicar is by saying it is the terrible kids show that the young cars in this terrible kids show watch.
Yes.
But actually, we're going to reserve judgment on this particular kids show, not Baby Unicar, Corey Carson, because we're going to do kind of a will we, won't we recommend when we're done with it on episode 7. So ignore the fact that I called it a terrible kids show. But if I'm being honest, it really isn't terrible.
Yeah, there's a lot worse out there.
There's a spoiler warning for that, too. Our review of it in episode 7, it's probably going to be fairly positive. But yes, it's a TV show about a baby car that is also a unicorn car. Corey, kids don't have the best sense of time, but Corey is wrong about it almost starting because the entire episode happens before Baby Unicar comes on the TV.
I guess. Yeah, I never really thought about it. Maybe there's a 2-parter or something, but no.
His definition of almost is questionable.
Yeah, that's a kid thing, though. I know it's today.
What are they teaching him at this Montessori school, whatever? Certainly not how to tell time. Actually, yeah, no, I babysat nannied, I guess, for 2 little girls once upon a time, and one of them was packing for a vacation that she said was happening tomorrow, and it was 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So, yes, kids' time. They're like dogs, really. Mr. Carson and Mrs. Oh, so Mr. Carson enters the room self-consciously and weird as ever. And they kiss, Mr. Carson and Mrs. Carson, causing Corey to drag Chrissy out of the house in fear of cooties, or what I think he says, cootie germs.
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah.
Yes, he says, Chrissy, cootie germs. This is a running gag about cooties, but it is not nearly as important as the show thinks it is. So I think it is just an excuse to get them out to meet the neighbors.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, the neighbors being Carlos and Carmina.
Carmina, yeah.
What do we think? Let's start about this. So the next door, okay, to set the scene, the next door neighbors are also kissing. Carlos and Carmina, they are married as well. And so Corey's like, I don't know. Corey's like, I can't get it.
Get away from this.
Yeah, I can't avoid it anywhere. They say they are going to tango class, but they call it tango because Carlos and Carmina are of Hispanic origin.
Yes, they're supposed to be. I mean,
they're supposed to
cars,
be.
but
They pronounce Spanish
Yeah.
correctly. They have. Well, Carlos is a Hispanic name, and Carmina hints at it. But this leads me to my first kind of question of the episode, which is: are these racist stereotypes, or
yeah, I mean, there's a kind of a question between representation versus just like stereotypes.
yes?
So, like, you know, a small kid who's more of that culture seeing a representation of that might feel good, but they also might go like, well, that's kind of silly. They're going to Tango class and
Yes.
and they're I
And
don't
they
know.
throw in just enough Spanish
Yeah,
to
so I mean that maybe we're not the people to talk about that, but like that's the question I have.
yeah,
like,
she calls
is that
him Mijo.
yeah?
I mean, like they certainly are welcome characters in the show.
Yeah.
They are treated as important. They are friendly to Corey. But as you said, and as I wrote in my notes, I am too white to tell.
Yeah,
Anyway, they're kissing, and Corey's like, oh no, and then they're like, we're going to tango class, and he says, you know, what's tango? And they say something about how it's a very passionate dance, and then it makes your heart roar, and Chrissy goes roar, and it's actually quite cute.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry, I am
Now-
with Chrissy all the way.
Now, this is in my notes, which is just my head. Is it normally that the neighbors would watch them?
Yes. And
Yeah.
so Corey,
Yeah.
being the super sleuth that he is, using his baby unicar powers, detects that if Carlos and Carmina are also going out, who's gonna watch them?
Yeah.
As every 5-year-old is concerned about who their babysitter is gonna be, right? Instead of just being like, I'm old enough to stay home alone, I will make a frosting casserole. But he asks that, and then we have the entrance of Carly. Carly is a pink car with a daisy painted on her hood and braces, and she enters to dramatically romantic music.
Oh, yep. He's just Corey's swooning.
Corey is swooning. She is maybe 13 to 15 in human years. And I wrote that Corey is instantly smitten, but your assessment of swooning is better. And I want to get back to that. But first, I want to go on one of my, hopefully by now, signature rants, which is, I get the joke that they are finding every name they can that starts with the syllable car, but this is the equivalent of me having a daughter and naming her Humanly or Peopleina. Like, you know, they are cars and they are aware of the word car. So when Mrs. Carson gave birth, ? To Corey, you know, like, was she going down the list of like, I could name him Carter, I could name him, because I want him to know that he's a car. I don't like Carlos, Carmina, Carly. They are all named Peopleito and Peopla and Humanly, and I just
Well, we might have to cut this if we can't remember. Wasn't the person who got the garbage dumped on them, didn't they just have like a normal name? Brett.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Why?
Corey's a normal name too, and so is
yeah,
Chrissy,
but it's
like,
sort of still kind of got the Corey Carson like.
yeah,
Like,
he's the son of a car. I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah, but it. You know, at some point the joke gets real old.
So I don't know. Our way of like testing if it's cool or not is to see like if a person did this instead of a car, would it be okay?
Yeah,
and like,
no,
I'm not gonna name my child Percival. I'm not gonna name my child Percival either, but that's because I already named my child.
Percival.
Oh, I didn't say today was a very special episode.
Oh, is it?
Well, I mean, Ari's 4 weeks old.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that a thing? I mean, I don't actually want to steal Clone High's gig, like, but I will say,
yeah.
like, we referenced Clone High twice now, so I'll say it's a show that ran for one season because they greatly offended the entire country of India.
And many other people.
And many other people. There was a satirical cartoon show out of Canada.
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
it had most of the cast of Scrubs as voice actors, so I guess it had to be like
A Canadian
American endeavor. Yeah, not PG, by the way. A little bit higher rated than that.
Oh yeah, so we can't recommend it.
it to all of our listeners. But Yeah.
But it's quite funny for those of you who like PG-13 or even
A
slightly
little
more humor. There are some rated R bits. Yes, so they were, it was a satire of like teen dramas, like Degrassi. And so every episode, the narrator would say like, next time on a very special episode. So every episode was a very special episode, and unwittingly, I seem to have done that for us. So I don't know. I think I should just put an end to that running gag now, because I don't like blatantly ripping off or stealing from other properties.
They're all special in their own way.
Yeah. At some point, though, I'm going to have to just make a mention to all the podcasts that definitely influenced this one, but not right now. Well, that was a tangent. So Carly is here, and the next question is it creepy that Corey, who just started preschool and who is 5 years old in people years, has this intense of a romantic crush on Carly?
I think it's a little young. I'm not really sure. I mean, you'd have to ask like a child psychologist when they kind of like get that. Because I mean, normally it's girls are icky until you're, 6 or 7, and then you change your mind. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I had a boyfriend in first grade or second grade, I think, because we are kids. And as I mentioned in another episode with my story about imitating Dexter's Laboratory, we saw relationships on TV and movies and stuff, and we imitated it.
Yeah.
But he was at least my age. He was just a kid in my class.
Yeah, that's true.
And I have heard also, maybe I'm just thinking about John Mulaney's bit about how he had a babysitter when he was young, and in his head she was 20, and then it turned out that when he was 10 she was 13.
Yeah.
Check out John Mulaney. He's not paying me for this plug. But I've heard tell of like, it's a trope of like young boys getting crushes on their sitters, but they're 10 or 11 and the sitter is 15.
Yeah.
And so basically like it's always when they've reached the point of like getting to puberty and kind of seeing those changes happen, and making a transition to a part in their lives where they're starting to explore who they like.
Yeah.
With Corey being 5 and entertaining, because we have to ask ourselves the question of, I mean, the whole episode, spoiler alert again, the whole episode is about him attempting to appear older in order to supposedly romantically entangle this teen girl.
I guess, yeah.
And so we have to ask ourselves, what is his goal?
Yeah, I mean, he's coded a little too young. Like he's in preschool. He's supposed to be 5, right? Like, yeah,
and he maybe this is what they were trying to go for with the kissing and all in the beginning. And the cooties is like the irony that like now this is what he wants, but again, even kissing, like to have a 5-year-old fantasizing about that, which he doesn't in the show. This is all we're trying to guess at what his end game is.
Yeah,
it's too much for me.
Yeah.
So and this episode just gets weirder and weirder. And we have to look at Carly, who seems to understand his intentions or not. Okay, so
does she kind of figure out? I think she at least knows that he's trying to like impress her.
Yes,
by being grown up.
But this is the thing: is that part of it is a typical kid thing where they don't want to be treated like children, and very well shouldn't be. I think too many adults condescend to children, and kids are smarter than we give them credit for. Hence the condescension, and they pick up on that, and so they want to be treated like they're older, like they're adults. They want to prove that they can use the big boy slide and whatever. And I think she picked up on that. It is still a question of like, did she pick up on he wants to appear older because he's romantically interested in her? If she picked up on that, she needed to, I was going to say sit him down, but she can't because cars don't sit. Cars are always standing or sitting.
They're like standing on the couch later.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we call it standing? They are at rest on their tires. And she needed to have a talk with him about just backing off.
I guess. I mean, that might be a big ask for a girl of her age, just to be like, okay, what you need to do is be very mature about this, and and kind of set things to rights.
That's true. I mean, if she's 13, that is a big ask. If she's 15, I would almost say that she's mature enough to like have a talk with him. This harkens back to Carolyn the fire truck, who also did not really have the right conversation in my opinion. However, I am not going to make this a bad babysitter alert. She's quite good at her job. I think she's just, I'm going to claim that she's ignorant of the fact that he has romantic intentions, but she is aware that he, like many children, is trying to appear older.
Yeah.
So that is our assessment of that. But my final stamp on this is going to be creepy. I wish they'd gone a different direction.
I wish
with the episode.
They could have just made it so, like, he really felt that he didn't need a babysitter. And he was just trying to be older, and he was just trying to be more mature than he actually was ready for, and all that sort of stuff. That would have been...
So our rewrite of this episode is, he finds out that Carlos and Carmina aren't going to be watching them, and he gets excited and thinks that he's going to be let to stay home alone and watch Chrissy himself. And when he sees Carly, he is upset by that and is intent on proving that he's old enough to be responsible on his own.
And the
conclusion
the
can be
titular
fairly the
oil
same.
Spill, which we will get to later, kind of proves that he's still a kid.
Yes. So same conclusion. I think that would have treated me much better. As it is, Carly is there. She drives up to... she scoots up. I remember this. I was going to say that the cars scoot everywhere. She scoots up to romantic music and flashes her braces to give us an idea of how old she is. And we do... Oh, this just occurred to me. We do get some hint that cars grow up because she is bigger than Corey. And Corey's bigger than Chrissy, now that I think about it. But she's smaller than the adult cars. So they... grow up. Or every year they go and get their chassis redone. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's time for your birthday complete remodification of your body.
Yeah, that's not horrifying.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this universe can be.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, as we speak, Mr. Coltrane is off on some adventure that he has no control over. He's just on the same loop over and over and over again. But we have not a bad parenting alert, but a worrying parenting alert. A worrying parent alert from Mr. Carson, who backs out of the house after Carly's there. And he has some new bumper stickers on his bumper, which is his butt. And he asks his young son if the stickers, quote, make his bumper look big. Well, a quote, make my bumper look big. Sorry, I like the exact quotes, but basically he asks if his bumper looks big. And he does not realize Carly is there and gets embarrassed when Corey, brings her presence to his attention. But shouldn't he also be embarrassed to be asking this question of his 5-year-old son?
Yeah, and are bumper stickers pants?
Or tattoos?
Or I don't know.
Bling?
That kind of tattoo you get above your butt.
That has a very... slut-shaming name, and so we will not...
We will not use it.
I don't know if you can say the word slut in a PG movie, but slut-shaming is something
bad.
that is bad. So we're not going to use it. But yeah, I mean, like, I imagine Mr. Carson just driving into the car version of Claire's and being like, get me all of the bumper stickers that say that I am a tough
ready
girl.
to mingle. I don't know.
Girl boss, But whatever it is, he asks if his bumper looks big. And again, we'll go back to, if a human man did this with his 5-year-old child, would it be weird? Well, would it be weird if you walked backwards up to Warren and asked if your butt looked big?
Yes, I would say so.
Now, Warren is 3.
Yeah.
That's worse.
Yeah, I suppose.
But if Warren were 33... he could laugh at it, I suppose, but it would still be weird.
It'd still be weird.
But, so we have a worrying parent there.
I don't really know what the point of that was, other than to, I guess, embarrass him in front of Carly.
I think the point was to embarrass him in front of Carly.
Yeah, to kind of get that, like, if he doesn't want to be embarrassed in front of Carly.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the parents needed to come out of the house to leave, so there was no need for an excuse to get Mr. Carson into the scene. So it must have just been to start embarrassing Corey in front of Carly because his parents do that for the next 5 minutes. They just embarrass him again because he wants to appear older. He tries to impress Carly in a number of ways. I wrote, I guess it doesn't really matter which ways. So to really quickly recap, because we are still so not far enough in this episode, Mrs. Carson comes out, gives Carly instructions on how to babysit. Everything she says, or maybe Mr. Carson does it. It doesn't matter. Everything they say, Corey refutes. He says he doesn't do nap time, or he doesn't go potty. He doesn't eat num-nums. He doesn't get cold, whatever. He does not want to be seen as a child. Then they leave. Hooray. I think they're going to tango class with Carlos and Carmina. I don't know.
Maybe. Who
Date
knows?
night. They leave. Everyone goes inside, and Corey starts pretending to be an adult, or what his idea of an adult is. At one point, he and Chrissy, or not Chrissy, all these C names are going to kill me. Carly humors him. Again, we're just going to say because she thinks he's trying to appear older, like many kids do, and not because she realizes that he's trying to court her romantically. So like one of the things that he does is he goes up to a cup of coffee on the counter that is just sitting there, I guess, and, you know, for those who are curious, because I know that everyone's been really wondering this for 5 episodes, every drink or beverage or whatever in the show is a cup with a lid and a straw coming out of it, because how else?
Yeah, they don't have hands, I guess.
Yeah, so how else would a car consume liquid? And I guess we're gonna have to talk later. Remind me to talk later about how they consume liquid and it, I guess, turns into motor oil.
Yeah.
Is that what oil spill is, by the way? Motor oil? Is that
Yeah,
what it's called?
I guess,
Okay.
sure.
All right, yeah.
Just engine oil.
Yeah, so oil. Unless they're drinking oil, except that he says that he's drinking coffee because adults drink coffee.
Yeah.
And we have a direct quote here. Carly says something like, I didn't know you drink coffee. And he says, I can't get enough hot, delicious bean water.
I mean, it's like a different episode, episode 2, they eat like vegetables and croissants and stuff. Does that just become exhaust? Like,
Yes.
who knows? This is all very complicated.
I don't know why I included this quote, except that I suppose I wanted to give a sample of the show's attempt at humor.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's on point, but this was just like, they're trying too hard to be a meme, you know what I mean? And he says it while like choking it down, because of course he does not like coffee, because kids don't like coffee. All of this, you know, he like scoots in with I was going to say like a hands-free headset, but of course it's hands-free.
Yeah.
Again, cars don't have hands.
Yes.
But he scoots in with a headset on and he pretends to be talking on the phone. He says Frederick, so I thought
Maybe he actually called his friend Freddie.
yeah,
but,
or he
but
was
he was just
to.
pretending.
Yeah, so he pretends to have like business calls and to mow the lawn and whatever else. And then Baby Unicar, which he said was almost starting a long time ago, is actually almost starting, and he realizes that is a show for little kids.
Mm-hmm. And he can't like it anymore.
And sad music.
Yep.
Cue sad music. He can't like Baby Unicar. By the way, he took. Every time I say he took something off of his head or whatever, it sounds like he reaches up. He does not. He essentially shakes the horn off his head when Carly sees it in order to discard it a long time ago, as soon as she first saw him, because the horn was a symbol of his youth, and he eschewed it firmly.
Yes.
So he can't like Baby Unicar anymore. Oh no, Carly invites him to join, and he's like, no, I gotta go mow the lawn or read a book or whatever he says. And so Carly and Chrissy back onto the couch. The couch has a ramp up to it, and so they reverse onto the couch. Nothing much happens until a commercial break. I wrote, will kids these days even understand this?
Maybe not. Yeah, I think we talked about that when we first saw it, or one of the many times but we saw it, like, there are no commercial breaks on this show.
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. It's all streaming. And so, like, to have a commercial break in the middle of the show.
I haven't watched TV with commercials in a long time. And I'm a millennial, so I did have that at one point. My students do not.
Well, they mention at the very beginning when Corey's talking about Baby Unicar almost being on, he mentions that this is like a fresh new episode where we finally learn if Baby Unicar is going to blast all the colors of the rainbow out of their horn or something like that. And like, but there isn't like a new episode on Wednesdays at 9:30
the
anymore.
Concept of cable TV with you have to wait for the next episode is kind of dying or dead.
Dying or dead. And in this show,
yeah,
I mean, I guess like
this show is aimed at Warren,
yeah,
and he's will never know a commercial.
I mean, like, yeah, that concept is pretty foreign.
This isn't particularly relevant to the show. I'm just kind of, I guess, wrapping my head around the changes that have happened in our society. Yeah. But like what kids know nowadays is ads, like pre-roll ads, or there's ad breaks in certain videos that you can maybe like pay more money to not have. But as far as like you go to at a scheduled time to watch the TV and there are commercial breaks and then like the next phase of that was you get a DVR or TiVo in order to skip the commercial breaks. You record the show. You know, that might be foreign to their entire audience.
Yeah.
But
and not part of the show we're currently watching.
Yes, I think that's a little bit ironic that we're watching a streaming show that is claiming that shows have commercials. But there is a commercial break, and Carly says to Chrissy, let's take a potty break. And Chrissy goes, potty, which I wish that was how children reacted to going to the bathroom. Just like, yay, I will do this thing. But Carly asks Corey if he needs to go too. And Corey says he does not need to go potty because obviously big kids and adults don't use the bathroom.
I mean, maybe he just doesn't want her helping.
Yes, I suppose.
But like, yeah, he's like, no, I don't. I've never done that in my life.
Yeah. Only children potty. Adults just, I don't know, steam it off.
Yeah.
So he says he doesn't need to go, but he obviously does because he is a small child. And then this is a trope that I have seen like all the way back in Rugrats, you know, like when we were watching TV on, you know, TVs, is when is like running water makes little kid think need go potty.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's even a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. But
Do you feel the need to go to the bathroom more when you hear running water or see commercials for water?
No.
Okay. I don't think I do either, but it's come from somewhere.
It's a thing, yeah.
So a commercial comes on for bottled water. Are there commercials for bottled water?
I mean, there might be like a Dasani commercial with somebody dancing or something, but like, I don't really think so.
This water will bring you more happiness than other water.
There's like smart water and vitamin water and but glacier water, all that sort of stuff. But no, this is just an ad for water.
I saw Under Armour water at the store the other day.
Underwear water.
Under Armour. Yeah. Like,
well, I mean, that's what it is.
Under Armour brand water.
That sounds extra gross.
Selling people water is the biggest scam that anyone ever invented anyway. So there's a commercial for this. It makes Corey think he needs to go to the bathroom after all, or I guess like realize that he needs to go urgently. And so he rushes upstairs, but not really because they're not stairs. It's a ramp. So we have to say up ramp.
Yeah,
but that sounds
rushes
weird.
up ramp.
He rushes up ramp.
To the next story.
Yes, because it's a 2-story house because they are comfortably middle class. And Carly and Chrissy are still in the bathroom. So, well, we'll get to this, but like he tries to hold it in, but cannot. And
because he's a kid.
He runs into the door and Carly says they'll be finished in a second, and he has an accident. That's the euphemism they use in the show, so that's what I'll say here. I did not expect the show to go in this direction at all, even though, you know, it was clearly leading up to that and it was called Oil Spill, but we don't see it. I think for the comfort of our audience, I'll say that we don't watch this car leak.
I think we get a pretty strange facial expression from him at some point, which is a little disconcerting to me, but that's all right.
Yes, we do get that, and maybe a sound effect, but I don't remember. And then Carly comes out the door and is like, what's wrong? And she looks down and Corey is standing there in a puddle of oil. And she goes, oh, in a knowing way. And again, I mean, like, they are trying to, well, we'll save this for the What If We Learn segment, but like, they're trying to say like accidents happen. And I don't think they would have been able to show something this explicit if these were human characters. But my brain, being an adult brain, definitely kind of like transposes human characters onto them, if that makes sense. And so it is quite uncomfortable to see. And then we add in the fact that he was trying to like romantically entangle her the whole time and ends up standing in a puddle of his own shame in front of her. And like Corey's, you know, descent into psychological upset is complete now. Like his mother puts pressure on him to save a balloon, and then he pees himself in front of his babysitter.
His babysitter, his
for whom he has
dream babysitter.
Uncomfortable, creepy attraction. You know, to whom he is uncomfortably creepily
attracted.
I have to make them adverbs. Hold on, this is very important to me. To whom he is uncomfortably and creepily attracted.
Okay.
Sorry, it's important.
It's, yes.
It's not, by the way. Like, grammar is all a lie anyway. But says the English teacher. It is. It's a lie. I'm learning this slowly but surely. So she says it's going to be okay. She does what a good babysitter would do. She says, don't worry about it. We'll just get you cleaned up. But let's stop and look at this. Earlier, he drank coffee. In another episode, they ate croissant hot dog medley. Does it just digest? Where does it go?
I don't know. Does it all become oil?
First of all, we never see them like pooting out gas, exhaust, or whatever.
Yeah,
that would be too gross.
Thankfully, there aren't any fart jokes, as far as I know.
No, we talked briefly
There's
about
honking. There's
tooting.
Tooting.
Yeah, we talked briefly about that earlier in Garbage Day, but for the most part, it's clean. But let's also say, like, unlike Disney Pixar's cars, their mouths are on their windshields. They just have faces on their windshields. Yeah. And so when they eat, it goes into this like void, right? Because behind their windshield is nothing. It's the interior of the car.
Yeah.
And so like I just imagine like it's opaque. You can't see into these cars. And so I imagine if they ever did open a door, you would just see like piles and piles of food rotting in there. And then like a fairy princess changing the rotting food into motor oil occasionally.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how, you know what? That's how car digestion works in this universe. I've decided.
We've decided.
They eat food right into their interior. A fairy princess lives inside all of them, or maybe Baby Unicorn lives inside all of them,
all of our hearts, at least,
and transforms it into fuel for them.
Yeah.
A fairy princess does live in our hearts.
Yeah.
One fairy princess for all of our hearts, though. These are tough times. We got to tighten the belts and stuff. We can't all have a fairy princess. So she puts him in the bath. You know, she cleans him up. Chrissy's standing on there's a vanity type mirror there, counter in front of a mirror, and she's standing there. Chrissy is very rarely on the floor. I'm starting to think about this. Yeah. We never see her climb anywhere, of course, because she can't. But she puts him in the bath, and he is so sad. He is depressed, and it's awkward. And Carly wants to make him feel better, so she tries to cheer him up by telling him about how she played Peter Pan. Ari might be waking up.
We'll see.
Hey, guys, we have a little baby. He's 4 weeks old at time of recording. He's probably closer to 2 months old when you're listening to this, or 3. If you hear him on the baby monitor in the background, I'm sorry. And there might be a weird cut when I go to get him, and then he's just in here. It's cool. We're parents. We're doing this. Carly tells Corey about how she played Peter Pan in a school play, although she doesn't say that. She just says Wendy was in trouble, and we're supposed to guess. And she had to fly in on stage, and the harness was tight around her, quote, fuel tank.
Which is not where oil is stored. So
she peed herself on stage in front of everyone. And her point is that even grown-ups pee themselves sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, or just tried to tell them a nice story so we'd be less embarrassed.
But, like, Corey asks her how old she was when this happened, and she very quickly says, that's not the point, which makes me think it happened, like, yesterday. And that story is worse. Much worse. Corey peed himself in front of his sister and babysitter. She peed herself on stage in front of her peers and their parents and her teachers. And there he is.
There he is.
Okay, I'm going to go grab Ari and we'll continue and wrap up. I should clarify, by the way, that Warren is in preschool right now.
Yeah.
That's why we have one kid to deal with and not two. It's the stupidest idea in the world that he's in preschool right now because our country responded to this pandemic by doing nothing. And so everyone is in danger all the time. But fortunately, we're in one of the few states that's just slightly safer. So,
and his preschool class is like 4 kids.
4 kids. And he loves it so much and he needs it.
Yeah, he loves school so much.
That preschool is perfect for him. So, yeah, but he's there, and Ari is here now through the magic of teleportation. So if you hear some noises, forgive us. We're parents. Yeah. Oh, but I can't hold my phone anymore for notes.
I will do it. I will save the day.
Great. We're almost done. Yay. We were talking about how Carly really
embarrassed herself.
And I mean, like, that would definitely make me feel better about most things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Corey decides it's okay to watch Baby Unicorn now because he's learned that it's okay to be a kid.
Yeah.
That wasn't the lesson she was teaching him. But that's what he's learned. So To conclude the episode, Chrissy whips around from her spot in front of the mirror to display a face coated in makeup in silly fashion, right? She looks like a little clown. And how did she do this? She has no hands or thumbs. I imagine she just like smashed her little face into some makeup, and that's how that happened. So she claims now that she has cootie germs, wrapping up the cootie line that we were so invested in, the cootie subplot or thread or whatever. And she chases them down ramp, not downstairs, because again, it's a ramp. So she chases them down ramp, and that's the end of the episode. Corey is going to be a kid and cease his pursuits of the older woman.
Yes. He learns that it's okay to ask to watch Baby Unicorn.
And that sounds like a great transition into what have we learned? So at some point I'll stop explaining what this segment is, but basically kids shows tend to pretend that they have something to teach a kid to justify planting your kids in front of them.
Making you feel better about letting your kid watch them if it was somewhat educational, even though this is just to sell toys.
Right. So, what have we learned? Well, Corey learned, apparently, that it's okay to be a kid.
Yeah.
And he can...
And that sometimes accidents happen.
Yeah, sometimes accidents happen.
And you shouldn't try to pretend that you're... or you don't go to the bathroom. I don't know.
Yes. But here's the thing. I'm sorry, Corey Carson, to bring logic into this where it does not belong. But say that Corey had said, you know what, I do need to go potty. She still would have made Chrissy go first. And so if he'd gone up with them, he still would have been trying to hold it in through all that time because he peed himself before Chrissy finished and they opened the door, which means that in that time, he was always going to have an accident.
Well, he wouldn't have watched the magic water commercial that made him pee.
Oh, I see. But surely, like, being around other people peeing would also, like, Chrissy
yeah, he still would have had to wait his turn. I don't think she would have brought him in with...
Right. Yeah. Well, she might have because little kids, they bathe together or whatever.
Yeah.
But you are the noisiest eater. You are going to make the background of our podcast sound, like, weird. But I'm talking to Ari, not my husband.
Yeah, I'm not eating right now.
So he's probably would have had an accident no matter what. What did we learn? What did we want our kids to learn from this?
Don't put stickers on your butt and ask your son and babysitter how that's about. Cootie germs aren't real.
Yeah, cootie germs. And if you find that your 5-year-old child is attempting to romantically woo anyone, you might need to have a talk with them.
Yeah, you might need to sit them down and say,
Mommy and Daddy kiss because we are adults. And
you should probably be a little patient with that.
Yeah, kissing is for grown-ups is the lesson I wish he had learned in this episode, but did not.
But
it's something I've learned. I mean, kids imitate, and so we kiss, and then Warren sees that. I mean, he gives a little kiss to the baby on the head, and he says "kiss," right? Yeah. So he gets that, but like you might need to have that talk with your kids about what's okay to imitate and what isn't. And then they ask where babies come from, and then you just like yeet them and leave.
You light your hair on fire and run away.
Yes, as everyone knows to do when your kid asks you that question. Or this is crazy. You could just be honest, but in a very
I'm sure
euphemistic way.
When our kids get a little older, we will buy a book that will tell us how to broach that subject.
No, you let school do that.
Oh, okay.
That's the only reason you send your kid to school, so they have the awkward conversations and you don't have to. And this episode was really weird.
Yes.
It's not anything I was expecting to see.
Yeah.
This may actually this episode actually this and the last 2 episodes of the season might factor in to the discussion we have about.
Yeah, because the first couple ones were a little bit nicer,
tamer, for sure.
And so
because we are going to get into classism.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't want to spoil too much for next episode, although I'm very excited to talk about it. Next episode will be Corey Carson season 1, episode 6, sleepover. Very excited for that. We're going to say goodbye for now. Thank you very much to my husband for composing music for the beginning and ending of this program. Oh, I didn't have any reason to tweet at us.
Oh.
Come up with a reason to tweet at us this time because we didn't talk about wrestling today. So
Yeah.
come up with a different reason.
Come up with a different reason.
Tweet at us at Not Again Pod. Find us on Facebook, which this is pulling back the curtain a little bit, but I only just set up the Facebook page because we recorded so many of these episodes in advance. So earlier I was saying find us on Facebook vaguely, hoping that people would be able to. Now I can say that we are on Facebook. Our page is called Not Again Podcast. It's just a page. We just post episode updates, but you could have discussions there if you wanted to about the episodes. If you like and follow that page. And thank you to our listeners for helping us to stay sane for just one more week. We will see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
I've been Rebecca.
And I'm Alan.
Bye.
Bye. They don't take their tires off to get into the bath because Carly gave him a bath after his oil spill.
Yeah, and they don't wear clothes.
They don't wear clothes. I mean, I guess there was the bumper stickers,
The
right?
bumper stickers are their clothes. Now we know. That's why he was
That's
asking.
why.
But that means he's been going around naked.
Yeah, everybody's naked.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a free society, man.
Well-
Carly has a giant flower on the hood of her body.
Hood of her hood.
Is that a tattoo? Is that a bumper? What
Yeah,
what
I
even
don't
is
know.
that?
An adornment of some kind.
I don't know, man.